The entire auto industry just jolted awake, and it's all because of General Motors. Out of nowhere, GM has unleashed a bombshell that's turning the entire market upside down. We're not talking about a minor price cut or a fancy trim package. We're talking about a full-blown disruption that's sending ripples through every dealership, boardroom, and competitor in America. This is the kind of announcement that makes Tesla nervous, rattles Toyota, and sends Ford scrambling for a plan B. GM didn't just make a move, they lit a fuse under the industry. Here's what just dropped. GM has officially committed to slashing prices across multiple model lines while simultaneously launching an all-new, next-generation EV lineup that's faster, cheaper, and smarter than anyone expected. This isn't a press stunt. This is a fundamental shift in strategy. They're no longer playing catch-up. They're flipping the script. Remember all the noise about EVs being too expensive and impractical? GM just killed that narrative in one press release. And it's not just talk. They're backing it up with immediate rollouts and deliveries. We're talking about brand new electric Silverados, Equinoxes, and even a $25,000 Ultium-based compact that undercuts every competitor in its class. The timing couldn't be more ruthless. Just as rivals are slowing EV production, tightening budgets, and scaling back forecasts, GM is going full throttle. They've announced massive investments into new US-based battery plants, with a pledge to reduce battery costs by over 40% within the next 2 years. That changes everything. Lower battery costs mean lower sticker prices, longer ranges, and, most importantly, mass adoption. And GM isn't waiting for the market to catch up. They're forcing it to move right now. But here's where it gets even wilder. GM is introducing a subscription-free advanced driver assistance system in select 2025 models. That's right. While other automakers are stuffing monthly fees into every feature, GM is removing them. Super Cruise, once a premium option, is now being bundled into standard trim levels. That's a direct slap in the face to companies like BMW and Mercedes who want you to pay $20 a month just to unlock your heated seats. GM is positioning itself as the people's brand, and customers are noticing. Dealerships? They're already seeing a spike in traffic. Inventory that had been sitting for months is suddenly flying off the lots. Buyers who were on the fence about going electric are now jumping in, because GM isn't just selling cars. They're selling value, performance, and a level of practicality that no one saw coming. And that's only the surface. There's more. Because here's the kicker. GM just inked a deal with a major national charging network, one that gives all new GM EV buyers free access to thousands of fast chargers across the country for 2 years. That's right. Free charging. No setup fees. No fine print. Just plug in and go. Tesla may have the supercharger network, but GM is now offering an equally competitive solution without the gatekeeping. This alone could tip the scales for millions of potential buyers who are worried about infrastructure. Wall Street didn't miss it either. GM stocks surged within hours of the announcement. Analysts who were lukewarm on the company just a month ago are now upgrading their ratings across the board. Why? Because GM isn't just responding to trends. They're dictating them. And every other automaker is now on the defensive. Even foreign competitors are sounding the alarm. Korean and Japanese automakers are quietly reassessing their 2025 forecasts, and European brands are being forced to reevaluate their US strategies. GM's aggressive pricing and innovation package has cornered the mid-market and is now threatening the luxury segment too. Cadillac, GM's flagship, just unveiled a new EV with performance stats that rival the Lucid Air and the Porsche Taycan at nearly half the price. This isn't just about cars anymore. It's about dominance, control, market leadership. And the craziest part? GM's announcement wasn't even hyped up beforehand. No teasers, no cryptic tweets. They dropped it like a thunderclap, and the entire industry is still trying to recover from the shock. And while everyone's scrambling to make sense of it, GM is already onto the next phase. They're not slowing down, they're accelerating. Just days after the main announcement, GM confirmed a series of strategic partnerships with cutting-edge AI and semiconductor companies to integrate real-time vehicle diagnostics, predictive maintenance, and even AI co-pilots in future models. This isn't science fiction. This is GM blending Silicon Valley innovation with Detroit muscle, creating vehicles that think, adapt, and evolve with their drivers. Imagine a car that alerts you before your battery degrades, routes you around weather conditions automatically, and even adjusts your suspension based on your driving style. That's not 5 years away. That's part of GM's 2026 roadmap. And it doesn't stop with tech. GM is also overhauling its entire supply chain. They're cutting ties with volatile overseas suppliers and doubling down on domestic manufacturing. In fact, they just opened 2 new battery component facilities in Michigan and Texas, built, staffed, and operated right here in the US. This is about more than EVs. This is about economic resilience, national security, and taking back control of the auto supply chain from China and other foreign powers. Meanwhile, union support is hitting record highs. After months of tense negotiations across the industry, GM shocked everyone by voluntarily extending benefits, bonuses, and long-term healthcare incentives to its U.S. workforce. No strikes, no delays, just proactive leadership. And that's earning them serious goodwill, not just from workers, but from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. There are already whispers that Washington may increase federal tax credits and green energy grants for GM vehicles thanks to these moves. And here's the part that's got every other car company sweating. GM is planning to eliminate internal combustion engine production for passenger vehicles by 2028, 2 years earlier than previously projected. That's a hard cutoff, and it's backed by an actual, tangible transition plan. They're retooling factories, retraining workers, and ramping up EV output month after month. While Ford and Stellantis are stuck deciding whether to even keep certain models alive, GM is running laps around them with a clear, aggressive, and fully funded roadmap. Dealers are even being retrained. GM has launched a nationwide program to educate sales staff on EV-specific customer experiences, charging needs, and post-sale support. That means when you walk into a GM dealership now, you're not met with a shrug when you ask about battery range or charging times. You get answers, real ones, because GM knows that knowledge sells, and they're making sure every frontline rep is locked and loaded. And let's talk about the market response for just a second. Used car prices? Already dropping. Why? Because GM's new pricing structure is undercutting the value of older models. Consumers looking to buy secondhand are pausing because now they can afford new. That shift is causing chaos among resellers, rental fleets, and even competitors who are relying on inflated used prices to prop up revenue. On social media, the buzz is deafening. Forums, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, every corner of the internet is lighting up with reactions to GM's sudden dominance. Influencers who previously hyped Tesla and Rivian are now reviewing GM's latest EVs and coming away stunned. Not just by the performance, but by the practicality. Massive cargo space, fast charging, unbeatable prices, and most importantly, availability. GM isn't teasing these cars. They're delivering them now. And while the rest of the world is trying to digest what just happened, GM CEO Mary Barra is already teasing another announcement. One that insiders claim could change the entire landscape of autonomous mobility. Industry insiders are whispering that GM is preparing to launch a fully autonomous ride-hailing fleet. Yes, a fleet under its cruise division, but with a twist no one expected. These won't just be limited to urban test zones. According to leaked internal documents, GM is pushing for a nationwide rollout by 2026, starting with mid-sized cities that have been largely ignored by Tesla and Waymo. And here's the kicker. They're planning to price each ride cheaper than Uber and Lyft. No surge pricing, no driver shortages, just clean, consistent, AI-powered mobility at a fraction of what we're paying today. What's even more shocking is how far GM has come with Cruise's software. A recent demonstration showed their next-gen autonomous system handling complex city traffic, roundabouts, construction zones, and even icy roads, all without a single hiccup. They've reportedly logged over 20 million miles in live environments, and that number is growing by the day. The Cruise Origin, their purpose-built AV with no steering wheel or pedals, is no longer a concept. It's real, it's production-ready, and it's coming to streets sooner than most people realize. This would instantly put GM ahead in the autonomous race. While Tesla is still refining its full self-driving beta with controversial public testing, GM is quietly obtaining regulatory approval, city by city, for full deployment. It's a methodical, bulletproof approach, and it's working. Several state DOTs have already fast-tracked licenses and permits, citing GM's strong safety record and commitment to local infrastructure investment. Meanwhile, GM is also making a bold play in the software game. They've rolled out an all-new connected car operating system, internally dubbed Ultify, which will power every GM vehicle moving forward. This isn't some slapped-on infotainment tweak. Ultifi is a Linux-based, cloud-connected ecosystem designed to seamlessly integrate over-the-air updates, subscription features, diagnostics, and third-party apps. Think of it like iOS for your car. And it's open-source compatible, meaning developers can build on top of it, opening the door to innovations we haven't even imagined yet. But here's where it gets almost sci-fi. GM is hinting that this OS will be the foundation for a cross-vehicle data network. That means your car could talk to other GM vehicles, infrastructure, traffic signals, and even utility grids. Real-time coordination to improve traffic flow, optimize charging during off-peak hours, and even warn other drivers of accidents or hazards ahead. This is vehicle-to-everything, V2X, communication at scale, and GM is poised to lead it. No one else is even close to this level of integration, not even Tesla. And speaking of integration, GM is bringing their vehicles even closer to consumers with a complete overhaul of their retail experience. They're launching direct-to-consumer options for ordering, financing, and even delivery, similar to Tesla, but with one massive difference. The dealer network still benefits. GM's hybrid approach ensures that local dealers are not cut out of the loop, but empowered with better logistics, inventory tools, and delivery systems. This could finally end the war between legacy automakers and dealerships, creating a system where buyers get the transparency and convenience they want without losing local support. And while all this is happening, GM's global strategy is unfolding fast. They've announced plans to expand production capacity in Mexico, Canada, and even Southeast Asia, specifically to serve growing EV demand in developing markets. But unlike before, they're not exporting basic versions of American cars. They're building region-specific EVs optimized for local infrastructure, tariffs, and buyer preferences. That's a level of market agility most legacy automakers can only dream of. Back in the US, government officials are now scrambling to respond. Why? Because GM's rapid electrification and domestic investment puts them at the front of the line for every green energy subsidy and infrastructure partnership coming down the pipeline. The Department of Energy has already started negotiations to support several GM battery projects. And the Department of Transportation is reportedly working with them on a multi-state charging corridor program that would blanket rural areas with fast charging stations, paid for, in part, by federal funds but powered by GM tech. The message is clear. GM is not just reacting to the future. They are building it, piece by piece, move by move. And every piece they lay down is catching their rivals flat-footed. Ford is in defensive mode, slashing costs and delaying EV rollouts. Toyota is still hedging its bets with hybrids. And Tesla, while it still leads in brand recognition, it's starting to feel legacy in the face of GM's aggressive innovation and bulletproof execution. Because GM isn't just innovating, they're industrializing. They're proving that you can scale high-tech solutions without sacrificing profitability, accessibility, or build quality. Even Wall Street is pivoting its tone. Analysts who once dismissed GM as a slow-moving dinosaur are now calling it the most agile legacy automaker on the planet. Investment banks are upgrading their long-term outlooks. Institutional buyers are snapping up shares. And smaller EV startups are already feeling the pressure as GM floods the mid and entry-level segments with attractive offerings that the new players simply can't compete with, either on price or performance. And let's not overlook what's happening with OnStar. Long thought of as a dated emergency service, GM has quietly transformed it into a next-generation connected platform. Through OnStar, drivers can now access live human assistance, real-time navigation updates, EV route planning, roadside support, and even health monitoring for both the car and the driver. And soon, OnStar will integrate with home automation systems and personal assistants like Alexa and Google, giving drivers seamless control over their homes from the dashboard. It's no longer just about moving from point A to point B. GM is trying to own the entire experience, from the minute you step into your vehicle to the moment you park it. And while most automakers are clinging to quarterly sales as a metric of success, GM is playing the long game. They're building ecosystems, subscription services, data sharing agreements, fleet management software, over-the-air monetization tools. It's all coming together. And here's the bold part. GM expects software and services to account for 25% of its total revenue by 2030. That's not a car company anymore. That's a tech company with wheels. And just when you think they've shown all their cards, another curveball hits. GM is entering the energy market. Yep. In partnership with renewable energy providers, they're developing home battery systems, solar integrations, and bidirectional charging tech that turns your car into a mobile power bank for your home. Imagine plugging your Silverado EV into your house during a blackout and running your essentials for 3 days. That's not theoretical. That's part of GM's real product roadmap, and beta programs are already live in California and Texas. All of this paints a very clear picture. GM isn't just trying to survive the EV transition. They're trying to own it, dominate it, redefine what an automaker even is. And it's working. Public perception is shifting. Sales numbers are climbing. Loyalty is returning. This is the kind of coordinated, well-funded, and bold strategy that turns companies into industry empires. And while their competitors are still caught in strategy meetings, GM is executing at full speed with no signs of letting up, and the momentum is only accelerating. Every week, GM is stacking win after win. Whether it's signing a new lithium supply contract to lock in raw materials for the next decade, or finalizing joint ventures with battery recycling firms that guarantee long-term sustainability and cost efficiency. They're thinking ahead, 5 moves at a time, while most of the industry is still reacting to yesterday's problems. Let's talk about scale for a moment. GM's factory upgrades are not incremental. They're revolutionary. Ultium Cells LLC, GM's joint venture with LG Energy Solution, is rapidly ramping production across multiple U.S. facilities. These aren't small pilot plants. They're gigafactories with the capacity to churn out battery cells for hundreds of thousands of vehicles per year. And because GM owns the platform, the vertical integration gives them unprecedented control over everything: costs, quality, innovation cycles. Tesla made this model famous, but GM is proving they can execute it faster and more flexibly. And while automakers across the board are slashing marketing budgets, GM is doing the opposite. They're launching one of the boldest branding revamps in company history. We're talking Super Bowl spots, high-profile celebrity partnerships, and immersive digital showrooms that allow buyers to test drive cars in virtual reality before setting foot in a dealership. They're meeting the next generation of car buyers, Gen Z and millennials, exactly where they live: online, mobile, interactive. No more static ads. GM is creating an experience, a culture, a movement around their vehicles. And what's fascinating is how their strategy is resonating globally. In China, where EV competition is brutal, GM's localized joint ventures like SAIC GM Wuling are not just holding ground, they're thriving. The Wuling Mini EV continues to dominate as one of the best-selling electric vehicles in the world. And now GM is exporting that same low-cost, high-volume formula to new markets like India, Brazil, and Southeast Asia. They've figured out how to scale EV adoption across income levels and geographic boundaries, something few automakers have managed to do effectively. But what really sets GM apart right now is the consistency. It's not one hit announcement. It's a steady drumbeat of transformation. Every week, new features, new models, new partnerships, new plants, new policies. While others are chasing headlines, GM is laying bricks, building something durable, expandable, and future-proof. And customers are starting to feel it. Walk into any dealership today and you'll see the shift firsthand. EVs that were once showpieces are now volume movers. ICE trucks and SUVs are being fitted with hybrid tech that actually improves towing capacity instead of sacrificing it. Customer satisfaction scores are up. Service wait times are down. And GM's My Chevrolet, My GMC, and My Cadillac apps are evolving into full-blown lifestyle tools that help drivers track mileage, manage subscriptions, book maintenance, and even control smart home devices. And now, GM is turning its eye toward performance. Word is out that the Corvette brand is about to get a full electric subline. Yes, a Corvette SUV and a Corvette sedan, both fully electric, both engineered with next-gen Ultium architecture and dual-motor AWD as standard. Insiders claim the prototype numbers are insane. 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, with over 500 miles of range, and handling dynamics tuned by the same team behind the Z06. This isn't just a nameplate extension. It's a declaration of war on Porsche, Lucid, and even Ferrari. And just like that, GM is expanding into segments once thought untouchable. They're not chasing luxury. They're redefining it. They're not responding to disruption. They are the disruption. And it's happening in real time, right in front of us. The American giant, once dismissed as too slow, too old school, and too bloated, is now rewriting every rule of the game. GM isn't just alive, it's surging. From budget EVs to luxury electric Corvettes, from AI-powered driving systems to grid-connected energy solutions, General Motors has transformed itself from a traditional carmaker into a full-spectrum mobility and technology powerhouse. And perhaps the most shocking part of all, they're just getting started. Because while the rest of the industry is still trying to figure out if they can survive the EV revolution, GM is already executing past it. They've mapped out the next 10 years with precision. They've secured the resources, and they've earned back the trust of investors, dealers, workers, and most importantly, drivers. What GM just pulled off isn't just a comeback. It's a declaration. The message? We're not chasing the future. We are the future. So buckle up, because the road ahead, GM is paving it mile by mile, battery by battery, and car by car. This is not the old General Motors. This is the new GM, faster, smarter, and more dangerous than ever before. And the entire car market, it just got exploded. Thanks for watching. If you thought this was big, just wait. Because GM's next move might be even bigger. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for what's coming next.